Do you love artwork in your home? I certainly do. I think my love of artwork came from my grandma, who every time she traveled would pick up a new watercolor or oil painting and put it on her wall. And she just kept adding and added until this entire wall was filled. I built these picture ledges in our last home and we brought them with us so I could use them again here. I needed to build this little one because I kind of wanted to mimic this L-shaped bench. These shelves allow me to change up my artwork whenever I want, and that allows me to keep collecting. I hope you'll stay tuned because we're about to dive in and do some projects with artwork. Hi, I'm Teresa Elling. Welcome to the Peaceful Home. This is one of my favorite things to collect. I am always keeping an eye out for prints, for paintings, and for beautiful frames. I just finished revamping my great room for spring, and that includes completely redoing my picture ledges. The reason I love these picture ledges so much is it really gives me flexibility for my growing collection of artwork. I just don't think I'd be happy with the same things on the wall all year. I'm finding new pieces that I love and I want to be able to see them all. So this is a great way to display and change up what I have. I have a few design rules that I keep in mind as I'm doing this. First of all, I try not to hang one painting or print directly above the other. I try to stagger them. Also, I try to stagger the height. So in this case right here, I've got two that are exactly the same height, and I really need to vary them. So I stand back a lot and take a look, and then I go make changes. So it's a back and forth until I get it right. Another thing I keep in mind is the predominant color. If you kind of step back and squint, you're going to notice value like light and dark and colors. And you don't want to put, for example, two white background paintings right next to each other. You would want to separate those so your eye travels through. Your eye will follow shape, it will follow color, and it will follow size. So I make sure to vary all of those things. Last component is texture, and that would be all of my non-artwork, the things that aren't framed, the wooden star and the two baskets. I want to make sure that I stagger those around in different spots as well. The last thing I need to do is fill this basket with some spring greens. After this, I'm going to replace a winter print with a spring one, and I'm going to add two prints upstairs on the wall. These are just random greens that are cut short, and if I need to, I bend them so that they fit in this basket. And the last project of today is to show you how you can make these picture ledges yourself. Okay, this is the library. It's also the kids' play area. I found this print this last year at Goodwill and showed it in my Christmas thrift haul. I love it. I almost was not going to take it down because I like it so much. And you really know that you love a piece of artwork when you walk by and you want to linger. You want to look at it again. And that is what this beautiful sketch of these deer does for me. But it does look very wintry. And I have this gorgeous print that was up on the stairwell, and it got knocked down and almost broke the frame. I did have to re-nail some pieces, and I thought, probably not the best place for a heavy painting like this. And this screams spring to me. So I'm gonna swap them out. This one is also on a wire, so I'm just gonna try it and see if the height is right. Now that caught right away. If it doesn't, you can slip your arm under through the bottom and make sure that the wire or string gets placed on the nail. Now this is higher than the deer print was, but I need to just step back and see if I like it. And I do. I think it can stay right here. It could maybe come down an inch, but this is a very tall wall and I think it looks beautiful here. Okay, time to head upstairs. This is the view coming up the stairs. And this is our little landing. We've turned it into a guest room because honestly, when you have 6 kids, you turn every nook and cranny into sleeping space. This is the area I'm gonna work on right now. This wall here. I've got some baskets down here and the wall's a little plain. I wanna put some things up right under the light fixture. And I do not like this light fixture, but that's a project for another day. I have this set of Currier and Ives prints and it's the 4 seasons. This is one of my absolute favorite sets. I used to have all 4 of them downstairs, actually where I just took the deer painting down and put up the other one. I had all 4. And I love using the winter one on my picture ledges, and I really like the summer one up there in the spring and summer. So I decided that I would take the autumn and the spring and put them here. And I did want 2 pieces of art here, and I think it would be perfect. So I'm gonna see what I think. So I usually try to hold it right where I want it and then mark the middle top. Just a little pencil hole. And then you want to measure down. How far down is your hook, is your wire? This is barely ½ an inch. So I will come down about ½ an inch from there, and that's where I'm going to put my nail. I keep this little box of various types of nails and screws and a small hammer in my laundry room so that I can do this easily and not have to go out to the garage. Next, I want to space these here because I've already got probably about 2 inches there and there. I think the same spacing in between them is a good idea. Here's what you need. A saw. I really like having a cordless. A brad nailer is optional, but recommended. You'll need some kind of stain and poly to seal. You'll need your screws. You'll need drill bits. A sander. Again, I love this cordless one, but I also have a plug-in that works great. A driver or drill. I love this cordless Ryobi. If you're going to be using glue, you'll need some grips and a tape measure. And then you need your wood to the specifications, the length that you need. You need a 1x2, a 1x3, and a 1x4. When picking out my pine boards, I always lay them on the ground flat, at least 3 sides to make sure that they're nice and straight. If you can see bowing or fit your fingers underneath the board, you need to put that piece back. To be honest, for a project like this, I'll use pretty much any screws I have. A lot of times I'll use 2-inch drywall screws, but you also can get deck screws. And again, I'm recommending about 2 inches because it has to go through the back into your wall. It's got to go through the wood, through the drywall, and at least a couple of these need to go into studs. You can also get an all-purpose screw, which is actually what I used for the new smaller shelves that I put in when we moved here. And you can even get deck screws that have a very tiny head, so they're way less noticeable. I found that if you're going with a lighter stain, kind of this brass look is great, and the darker gray or black work well with the dark stain if you don't want to see them. First step is to measure. Measure your wall. I usually come in a little bit. I don't go wall to wall. And then that is the measurement you need to cut all 3 pieces. Once they're cut, you assemble. The 1x4 is your base. That is the bottom of the shelf. The 1x3 is your backing piece. And that is what is going to be screwed into the wall. And the 1x2 is your front ledge. That's going to keep your pictures and paintings from falling off. It's really easy to just use a brad nailer or staple gun to go in here and attach these. But you also can use glue. Any type of wood glue, all-purpose glue. Make sure to get a coating and smooth it out on both sides. And then when you put it together, you're going to need to use a clamp to clamp this so it dries securely. Once that's done, I would give it a little bit of a sanding, especially your edges, and then you're ready to stain. I love using this opener. These are so inexpensive. You can even get them free at a lot of hardware stores because it opens the lid without damaging it, which sometimes happens with a screwdriver. I also like using these cheap foam brushes because then I just throw them away when I'm done. Make sure you use a stirring stick to stir the stain thoroughly, scraping the bottom so you get up any color that is settled. I usually put it on with this and I'll get an old rag to rub it off. And if you want it darker, then you can go multiple layers. I used this dark walnut for my shelves. It's so nice to be able to go to the hardware store, especially if they have a sample board like this. This shows you what all the colors look like in a solid finish or a transparent finish. When your stain is dry, you'll want a basic finish like a polyacrylic or a polyurethane. This is water-based, which means you could use a paintbrush and then wash it with soap and water. Make sure you stir this. Do not shake it. You don't want bubbles in your finish. And the other option is to get a stain and poly combo. Now this is great if you don't want to buy large cans of something that you may never use again. You can get a smaller can of the 2-in-1 and it works great. Once it's ready to go up, I recommend using a stud finder to find the studs on your wall. Mark those and make sure you're using a level so that after the first screw goes in, you lift your shelf with the level on top, make sure you're good. As long as you have at least 2 screws in studs, you're fine just putting a couple extra up. Now these pine boards split very easily, so you are going to want to drill a hole. Pick a drill bit that is the size or slightly smaller than your screws, and you're going to put it into your driver or drill, and you're going to drill right into the back of your picture ledge. So this is the front, this is the back part that's going to be attached. I'm going to drill wherever I know there's a stud to start with, and then a couple other spots. Once you complete that, then you can screw it into the wall, going right through those holes. If you've never done any woodworking, I suggest that you find a family member or friend that does some, even the basics. They probably have the tools you need and could help you out. This is a beginner project. I'm not showing you everything today because I don't need any more picture ledges, and I need this wood for a different project. but I wanted to give you an idea of how you could do this. If you're just starting out with woodworking and you need tools, I will link some basic ones below to get you started. These 3 tools in particular, a saw, a sander, and a drill or driver, are the things that I use the most. I use all 3 of them for almost every woodworking project. I do have a complete DIY on a dining room table that we built for the cottage, and I'll link that below if you want to see how to use these tools, start to finish project for a table that you can customize to your size and style. I would love to hear if you collect art, what is special to you, and how do you display it? Do you tend to put things that you love up and they stay there forever, or do you like to swap things out? I hope this was helpful today, and if you're interested in having a very flexible method, consider making some of those picture ledges. They are so easy. Thanks for joining me today on The Peaceful Home. It was wonderful to have you. Consider subscribing if you haven't. I hope you have an amazing day.